This presentation will attempt to explain how to search for the correct image on the internet. When choosing images from the internet, we need to be aware of several things that will make our presentations look either really good or really bad. So it's really important to get the right image, the right type, right size, and hopefully with a little bit more explanation, this will all become clear. When searching on the web, we typically look at two different types of searches, although there are several more. The first one is a web search. That would be this one right here. We also have the ability to search for images, and that's the one I want to focus on today, because it is the image search that will give us the greater variety of pictures to look at, and there are a lot of other things we can learn about the image before we use it in our presentations. When we do a search for images, we can choose to search them by size, and in this drop down where you see the word size, you can get any size, and that means it's going to display large, small, medium icons, or you can search by large, which will give you a larger file size, a medium, or icon, which is also referred to as a thumbnail. Typically, students make the mistake of selecting the icon without realizing it, and then when they put it in their presentations, it becomes pixelated very quickly. So there's a good reason to be aware of how large your image is. Here is an image that is actually too small to be used for much more than a thumbnail. It's actually a crop of a thumbnail, and you can see as I expand it, it becomes tearing and it starts to smear, and you can see that it's not the right size for the screen that I'm showing you right now. So if I want one that looked crystal clear on this page, I'd have to choose a file size that was much bigger. This one is, I think, about 20 kilobytes, so it's really small. In this particular slide, what I want to show you is how, using the search tools, you can pick Show Sizes. When you select this from the drop-down menu, you'll be able to see underneath each image, and in this case thumbnails, that the size of the image is there, and that will allow you to determine which image is bigger and may have some bearing on which image you use in a particular presentation. Another way that you can look for images on the internet is by selecting the color or type of image. So you can choose from full color images, so that when you do a search, all the images will be full color, or you can say black and white, and it'll only give you black and white images. And finally, you can select for what are called transparent images. And in the next slide, I'll try to explain what a transparent image is and how you might use that. Here are two different types of images. The one on the left is an image with a white background, and the image on the right is a transparent image. In other words, you only have the apple and the leaf. And if you look closely in the background, you'll notice that the image is comprised of a series of checkerboard patterns. When you see that on an image, in an image editor like Photoshop or some other type of image editor, that indicates that this picture has a transparent background, so that when you copy and paste that image into something, you're only going to get the apple. You will not get any kind of colored background. It will be clear. I hate to keep saying one more feature, but in Google it just seems like it's so feature rich that there are lots of ways you can do a single thing. Another way that you can search for images is by their type, and right in this area there's a drop-down menu right here under type, and you can see that you can search by face, which will give you faces. In this case, it will give you faces of cats. A photo as opposed to a drawing. Clip art, which would be just a piece of art that was drawn. Or a line drawing that just is an outside perimeter drawing. Or animated, which actually moves. And I'm going to try to show you the different types in the next slide. Just to illustrate the types of images that you can select, I just created this slide so that you can see This one is face, and this is what you would get. This, in this case, is a face of a cat. It's also a photograph, which is much like this one. It's a photograph. Then here's your line drawing and clip art. And here's an example of an animated GIF, which I can't really show you much about, but hopefully when this slide exports it will actually move. But in these, it's like a short video that just runs and runs and runs, and it keeps showing the same action over and over again. The next search feature I want to discuss is called Search by Time, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You can look at this particular photo, which is a clip of a picture, and you can see that you can search by the past 24 hours, past week, or you can set a custom range that will allow you to select images that are from a particular time period. So that's what Search by Time is all about. As our students leave the world of education and move out into the private sector, this next type of filtering may become really important. It's under what we would call usage rights, right in here. So with usage rights, you can do a search that's not filtered at all by any type of license, which means you're going to get all types of images, those that can be used for non-commercial and those that can be used for education only, and other types of files. But as you can see here, there's not filtered, of course, by license. Then you have these are labeled for reuse with modification, which means you can reuse them and you can modify them. Here's ones that are just labeled for reuse. That means you can reuse them for pretty much anything. These are used for non-commercial purposes, so that someone in education could use these, and they can modify them. Okay, and that's important, so that if you take an image and you run it through Photoshop and do something different with it, it's okay. And then you have these that are labeled for non-commercial reuse, so they could be reused but not for a commercial purpose, only for a non-commercial such as education. The last thing I want to discuss in searching for images is what we would call a safe search. So on this side of the page, you'll see safe search, show most relevant results. And you have two options in this particular situation. One is show the most relevant, which means you're going to get pretty much anything. And then this one, which I think we really need to be aware of, I'm not sure whether our school is blocking this or setting this as a filter anyway, but it says filter explicit results. That's really important if you've got a slideshow going, or if you're demonstrating on a screen in front of a bunch of students, you want to get safe images. So if you're in a non-filtered environment, this would be something you'd want to set your browser to before you start doing searches, because you never know what you're going to get, and even the thumbnails can be quite explicit. So that's about it for searching. I hope you've had an opportunity to pick up some information, and maybe it will help you in the future when you're doing your own searches. See you later.